Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to 3-Tag Thursday. I've been tagged quite a bit lately, and as you know, I've been kind of struggling to do booktube stuff a little bit for some personal reasons, and so I thought I would take today to kind of catch up on 3 of the shorter tags I've been tagged in, and hopefully I have a little bit more time next week to do 1 or 2 of the longer tags. So the first tag I want to do is the personal rules for reading tag. This tag was created by MJ at Reading This Life, and she tagged me. Thank you very much, MJ. If you have never checked out MJ's channel, you are missing out. She's a great member of our community, very creative and fun person here on BookTube. So please check out her channel. I'll leave links to her channel and to the original video down below. So prompt number 1 is, do you strive to read every day? If yes, do you do anything different or special to make time within your day? If no, why not? I do read every day. Some days I read very little, like maybe 10 pages. Some days I read a lot, like 100 or more pages. It just kind of depends. I don't set out time specifically for reading. I'm not, a very organized person or a task-oriented person, I guess, is maybe one way to look at it. And I feel like if I scheduled reading time, it would make reading seem like something I have to do. So what I do is I just always have a book near wherever I'm sitting, when I'm sitting, and I just pick it up and read it. Usually I have more than one in case the first one isn't what I want to read. Oftentimes I read before I go to bed. I read when the rest of my family goes to sleep because I stay up much later and sleep less than most of them do, which is probably because I'm retired and have less to do as a whole. Prompt number 2, do you always stay within your favorite genres, or do you experiment with reading different genres and subgenres? This whole genre thing is something I've talked about several times. Technically, my favorite genre is what people refer to as literary fiction. I just kind of prefer the name fiction, so they can apply to a much broader group of books. I did make it a goal a year or so ago to kind of read more genre fiction. I really love detective stories, detective mysteries, so you may notice on my channel I've been reading more of those. I have read 1 or 2 horror novels, The Only Good Indian by Stephen Graham Jones, which I liked a lot. I read a couple of romances. I think I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and I read a fantasy book. I read Assassin's Apprentice and kind of started that series, which I want to pick up. So I do experiment out of that, but I just find myself drawn back to just general fiction, or, if you prefer the term, literary fiction quite often. Prompt number 3, do you DNF? If yes, or that means you did not finish. If yes, what was the last book you DNF'd and the reasons why? If your answer is no, then what drives you to finish the book? I rarely DNF a book, but I did DNF American Pastoral by Philip Roth last year, I think. Primarily because I just, despite the quality of the writing, I just wasn't interested in the story. I'm not exactly sure how I can explain this, but the story, as the title implies, is a story about an American who's growing up and having success or not having success and having problems that are stereotypically American, and whose daughter is involved in things in the 60s. And I just found it to be really boring. And I think in part that's because I spent a lot of my earlier reading life reading books exactly like that, reading John Updike and reading Saul Bellow, and reading authors who primarily wrote books about Americans struggling with American problems. And so I just had a hard time maintaining my interest in the book, even though I thought it was really well written. And it was really only my second Philip Roth novel. Usually I don't DNF simply because I think I'm pretty careful about the books that I choose. I rarely pick up a book to read it and just think, well, this is exactly not what I want to read, unless it's for the BookTube prize or something like that, and then I'm more or less compelled to work my way through it. However sane or insane this is, once I pick up a book and I've decided to buy a book or acquire a book and I start reading it, I want to know about the book. I want to see if it gets better, and so I just naturally don't DNF very often. And then question 4, do you like to read challenging books? If yes, what draws you to them? If not, why do you avoid them? I do like to read challenging books. I think what draws me toward them is something I'm talking about a lot on my channel lately. It's kind of being a know-it-all. I want to have read those books, and I want to kind of know what makes them difficult and what makes them books that people talk about. So I read Joyce and Pynchon. I think the Jan Foss Septology is a little bit difficult books to read. I like that kind of challenge. I guess it feels kind of like a puzzle to me. A puzzle which doesn't necessarily have a guaranteed solution or just one solution. So that's kind of why I like to read, I guess, challenging books. Why maybe I like to read Faulkner so much. The next prompt says, don't forget to tag people. I'm not going to tag anybody simply because I just don't have time to think about tagging folks. So if you haven't done this tag, it's really quick. It's a good tag, and you should do it. And there's also an open source tag where you're supposed to come up with a prompt of your own. And I did not do that, MJ. I'm sorry. I think that's a really cool idea, but I just didn't do it. Anyway, there you go. There's my version of the personal rules for reading tag. Again, thanks to MJ for tagging me. I'll leave links to everything down below. So the second tag I want to do is the Cult of Celebrity tag. This tag was created by Gareth over at Books, Songs, and Other Magic. Has a great channel where he talks about books and kind of has a really philosophical approach to lots of things. I really enjoy his videos. I'll leave links to his channel and to his original video down below. And this is the Cult of Celebrity tag, and it has to do with kind of authors as celebrities and maybe how we as readers react to them. So question number 1, have you met an author that you liked? No. I also haven't met an author that I disliked. I've met very few authors that I can think of. That's just not one of those things that I do, which is really kind of closely related to the next question. I'm not one of those people who seeks out authors. I don't go to book signings. I don't go to readings, part probably because of being an introvert and homebody. I just don't go to those things. So question 2 then is, do you seek out signed copies of books? I don't. I have a few signed copies of books, but it's not something that I seek out or I particularly care about. What I want from a book is a book that I'm not afraid to read. Prompt 3, are you interested in authors' personalities, lifestyles, opinions? And I'm going to say yes. And this has to do with the fact that I'm just kind of interested in creative people and authors and how they do what they do and kind of what they're like. I'm not interested in kind of like salacious things about authors. I'm more interested in like what influences their work, how does their life influence what's on the page, what kind of life they lived, what kind of life did they live. This is probably has something to do with me being a historian and really being interested in the lives of creative people. Prompt 4, is there an author whose books you love that you think you wouldn't like personally? Let's see. Well, I've mentioned many times Hemingway. I'm not sure that I would be a huge, I'm not sure that Faulkner and I would necessarily get along. Who else do I have over here? I think I might have gotten along with Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He seemed like kind of a fun fellow. I definitely would not have gotten along with Proust. I don't think he would have driven me crazy. I think John Dos Passos and I might have been able to be friends. So there are some classic authors for you that I don't think I would have gotten along with. And I do love some of those people's books. 5, is there an author now dead you would have liked to meet? Yes, and I've mentioned this many times before that, I used to have this kind of fantasy of getting a fist fight with Ernest Hemingway. I'm going to say something different. I finished I finished a biography of Jane Austen, Claire Tomlin's biography of Jane Austen for Jane Austen July. And, there's so little that we actually know about Jane Austen that I think it would be interesting to meet her. And just like, a fist fight or a boxing match with Hemingway would interest me, I think it'd be fun to go back in time and dance with Jane Austen because she apparently really loved to dance. And question 6, is there an author still alive that you would like to meet? An author still alive that I would like to meet. Ooh, I just thought of another author I would not get along with, and that's Patrick O'Brian, the author of the Aubrey Maturin historical fictions. Oh, I would like to meet Louise Erdrich. That's who I'd like to meet. I just thought of that. Yes, she's still alive. And, you know, kind of a cliche, and here I am saying I don't go to book things, but, you know, the idea of going to her bookstore in Minneapolis, Birch Bark Books, and her being there and meeting her, that would be kind of cool. Anyway, there you go. There is the Cult of Celebrity tag. Thanks to Gareth for tagging me. Leave a link to his original tag down below. Please go check out his channel and his videos. So the third tag I want to do today really isn't a tag at all, and this is it's really just a question, and that question is, who gets your books? This question was posed by Matt Wall over at Paperback Junkie, and he mentioned he'd be interested in seeing my answer. And essentially, his question was prompted by going to, I think, a used book sale, or maybe it was a library sale, in which a man's entire collection of books was on sale after his death, and being able to go through and pick up lots of books for really little money. And, you know, he wondered then about his own collection of books and what would happen to that when he passed on. And certainly, you know, that then is the source of the question. So I'm going to answer the question as honestly as I can and tell you I don't really care what happens to my books or who gets my books. I would like to think, and so maybe I do care, I would like to think that my kids might go through the shelves and pick out a few books that they're interested in. My wife might do that, and then they would hopefully, you know, collect the hardbacks and see what they could get for them, sell them at a garage sale, donate them to a library for a library sale. I think that would be great. You know, maybe build a little free library and put them out. You know, what happens to the books after I'm dead really doesn't matter because, well, I'm dead. If you're wondering, I also don't have a lot of very specific plans or ideas about my funeral because, well, I'll be dead. And it really won't be up to me, and I really won't be concerned about it. But there you go. There's my answer to who gets your books tags. The answer is whoever wants them, whoever takes them is essentially my answer. Anyway, there you go. There is my 3-Tag Thursday video for today. Look forward to your comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.